Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show number 90, and I'm pumped you're here with me today because today we're hanging out with Lauren Berkoski, and she is talking about owning multiple laundromats while holding down a 9-to-5 job that she enjoys. I think that's one of the beauties of this business is that it gives you options, right? I know a lot of you guys out there either have or are aspiring to escape that 9-to-5. Some of you guys may love your 9-to-5 and you're looking for a little side income or you're looking for a side business to run. So the laundromats give you that flexibility, but there are some challenges that come along with owning any business while working another 9-to-5. So Lauren is going to talk about that today. A lot of really good information and a lot of really good quotes. I wrote down a bunch of quotes from her in this interview, and we just have a really great time hanging out, and a lot of great information is flowing. So I know you're going to enjoy that. Real quick before we get into that, big welcome to everybody over at laundromatresource.com who has joined the community lately. I always say this, man, but it just keeps blowing me away. And in fact, we're going to celebrate some big milestones next episode. And I can't, wait to share those with you because it's all of our celebration. So looking forward to that. Real quick for this week's Fast Lane, which is just tips on how you can best utilize Laundromat Resource to help you achieve your goals, whatever that next step is, overcoming hurdles or, just taking the next stride towards the life that you want to live. So your Fast Lane tip is, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a social aspect to social media type aspect to laundromatresource.com. When you sign up for either the free or the pro membership, you get your own account over there. And I just want to encourage you, fill out your account details. There's a little account tab at the top. When you log in, click on that and upload a picture. In fact, I've said this before, but I crack up some of the pictures that you guys upload. Some of you guys are very professional and dare I say it, model-esque. With your profile pictures that you upload. And some of you guys go the more comedy route, and I enjoy both. But every time I log in and check out, who some of the new users are and what the new profile pictures are, never ceases to surprise me and put a smile on my face. So anyways, go fill out that profile over there, upload a picture, whether you go the professional route, the model route, the comedy route, however you go, your laundromat brand route, which is another way that people go, and fill out your information there. And the reason I say that is because Laundromat Resource is a place to connect with other owners. It's not just, the place where I dump the podcast episodes and funnel YouTube videos and write blog posts and all that stuff. It's a place where people are connecting. So whether you're connecting on the forums, through the website there, or however you want to connect, you can message other users directly. And when you fill out that profile over there and include a photo of yourself, number one, it lets people know who you are a little bit better. And if that connection is going to be worth the effort it takes to connect with people. But also, it allows you to reach out to other people too, and be able to see who they are. And I say this all the time, but when we're working together, when a group of people who have similar goals, similar aspirations are, coming up with ideas together, they're helping each other out. That doesn't just help one individual, that helps all of us. Right. And so, part of that connecting, part of that network, part of that community is, happening over there at laundromatresource.com. So go log in to either the free or the pro membership over there and, fill out your account profile and start connecting with people. And man, I promise you, when you start doing that, it's going to help you accomplish your goals faster. Okay, that's today's Fast Lane. Let's jump into it with Lauren today because this is a great, great interview and you're going to love it. Hey, Lauren, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Man, I'm super excited. Cannot wait to hear your story. We chatted just a little bit about it. I was trying to really hold back from asking the questions because I wanted to do it on here. But man, I love what I've heard so far and can't wait to hear the rest of it. So before we kind of jump into your laundromat journey, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll jump into how you got into the business.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Berkoski. I am located in central Pennsylvania, specifically the Harrisburg area. If anybody's familiar with that area. I have 2 kids and a husband who's awesome. You'll hear a little bit more about him. And my professional background. So I actually have a degree in marketing and communications. And when I received that degree, I really went full force into like the marketing and advertising industry. So I actually work in that industry. I've been in that industry for about 12 years now, which is awesome. Love my career, did a lot of traveling pre-COVID. And since that time have really honestly been focusing on growing the laundromat business and really hoping at some point to be like a full-time entrepreneur with my husband. But for now, I'm really, like I said, working in the marketing industry, really passionate about that. Really passionate about the central Pennsylvania community. I love living in Harrisburg. There's a lot going on in the community, love having businesses in this area, and love being here. Just in terms of like my kids growing up, it's a great family friendly area.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good thing you like having businesses in your area, because it sounds like you got a lot going on there.
Yep. For sure.
Okay. So thank you for the background. So let's talk about, how did your marketing? Oh, first of all, right. What kind of marketing do you do?
So it actually varies. I have worked in organizations that do a lot of like digital marketing, a lot of like web-based, software-based, builds basically for clients. But then I've also worked in more of the like strategic brand building spaces as well. And then I did a lot of creative production work. So a lot of video production, a lot of photography. Event production, you name it. Like I feel like I'm definitely like a generalist as it relates to marketing and advertising. I've had clients in the automotive industry, in the CPG industry, energy, startups, what else? Transportation. So my background, it's honestly really interesting. I've never really like worked in-house and worked on like one client specifically, which is definitely for me, like, I feel like that's helped me grow in a number of different ways. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome. I like that. I mean, kind of a jack of all marketing trades there, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty much how I feel like about what I do. And like, when, I talk to my peers and my clients about like my expertise, it's really that. I've dabbled in a lot of things. So
yeah, sounds like it. Okay. So awesome marketing career. It sounds interesting. Sounds like you like it. Where did laundromats come in here? How did you get into the laundromat business?
Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to take it back to, I think it was like 1999. My dad actually purchased a laundromat. He purchased it. I can't tell you what grade I was in. I was definitely younger. He was working full time. He really didn't love his like experience at his job. It really wasn't giving him like fulfillment, like what he needed in life and really like what he was passionate about. So I think him and my mom like spent some time trying to like really figure out what they wanted to do. They were just like, we know we want to be entrepreneurs. We know we want to like own our own business. We want financial freedom. What can we do? And I think they saw an ad in the paper for a laundromat for sale. And my mom was the one that said to my dad, like, hey, this might be a really great opportunity. Let's pursue it. So they went ahead. They actually purchased that laundromat. That was our original laundromat. And frankly, like at that time, my dad basically quit his job, took over the laundromats. And my brother and we spent like our whole childhood basically at this laundromat, right? Like cleaning, helping collect quarters, talking to customers, like all that stuff. So we would basically go like every summer to the laundromat and spend time with my dad. So that was like the original laundromat that we had. The laundromat was purchased from like this group, they're actually our distributor currently, but it was a family run distributor. They owned a number of different laundromats, like in the central Pennsylvania area. And when they started to sell some other ones, they asked my dad, like, if he was interested in buying another store. So he then bought another store, and our stores are, so like Harrisburg is centrally located to all of our stores. They're in just like different metros of Harrisburg. Mm-hmm. But he bought this next store from the same owner, same name. It's Dolly's Laundromat. And then from there, he purchased another one from somebody else. So different name, different city, still kind of like small town feel, right? Pretty like low key in terms of like the metro area, right? Mm-hmm. And then in 2014 is when my dad and mom decided to build like this new laundromat. That's actually located in Harrisburg. It's also called Dolly's Laundromat. And basically, that was a complete from like the ground up build. So our other laundromats were basically, they were just like existing laundromats that my mom and dad came in, kind of retooled a little bit, you know, did a ton of maintenance, updated machines, flooring, paint, what have you. So then they, like I said, they did the new laundromat in 2014. That is a Speed Queen laundromat. And then in 2015, my dad actually passed away unexpectedly. He had a known heart condition and then like went into surgery and then unfortunately like passed away as a result of the surgery. So yeah, it was a really like hard time, frankly, for like my family, like all of us. We were very close. Like I said, me, my dad, my brother, like we were always at the laundromats together. We spent a lot of time together. I'm fortunate that he got to meet like my kids. So that was awesome. Mm-hmm. Loved my dad, loved spending time with him. But then at that point, we made the decision to like keep the laundromats, right? Because my mom was working full time at this time. She works at a financial institution locally. So she's working full time. I'm working full time. My husband's working full time. And we were like, you know, what do we do? We were kind of faced with this decision. Does my mom, you know, keep these laundromats? Does she sell them? What do we do? And I think my mom is kind of one of those people that really like when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Right. Mm-hmm. And she definitely has like a long-term vision in her head of like what she wants in life. Right. So she decided to keep the laundromats, to push ahead. My husband at that point got involved with like maintenance and just like general support for her, but she was honestly doing a lot of the work. Right. We had great support. Like we had great cleaning people, great attendance. We have a great distributor that like helps us with things, of course, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was definitely like a tough couple years. So during that time, so between 2015 and present day, my mom actually sold one of our, like the smaller laundromat, mm-hmm. That my dad had purchased. And it wasn't the original laundromat. It's the one in E-Town. We sold that off. And at that point, you know, we were basically trying to like help her maintain, keep things going. I guess I continued to like grow my interest in the laundromats professionally. I had never really sat down and said, you know, when I graduated college, oh, I'm going to go and run this laundromat for my dad. Right. Because I honestly didn't see him passing away and, you know, that happening. Right. But it just slowly started to like hit me over those years. That was like, hey, I think you could be really good at this. I think you really like this, right? Like where does your passions lie? Mm-hmm. How can you get to that financial freedom faster? Right. And for me, that was a lot of self-reflection, but it was really literally like, hey, I think the laundromats are something that you should, you know, talk to your mom about. This is me talking to myself, but, and my husband at the time. So I kind of expressed more interest in, you know, helping with the laundromats. Again, my husband's helping my mom like in the evenings. We talked about like, she kind of approached me and said like, hey, do you want to start thinking about purchasing the original laundromat that my dad bought in 1999 in Carlisle. And I said, let me think about it. Let me just start to really put together like what my plans are related to this. We worked on a deal. So she sold that first laundromat to me, which I'm again running solo at this point with the support of everybody else. And then the other two laundromats, like I'm helping her with those, but my husband is honestly at this point, he quit his job last year. So he is pretty much like doing a lot of the work in terms of like the maintenance, helping the customers, schedules for our employees, supplies, like all of that good stuff. So it's definitely kind of like a combined effort between the three of us. It's definitely dividing and conquering, like based on what we're good at and not good at. Right. Mm-hmm. So between the three of us, we're running things. And then last year my mom and I had been talking about this for a while, but last year we made the decision to start like a pickup and delivery service for laundry, it's totally different than running a laundromat. Yeah. It's definitely much more like business oriented than like, and service oriented than a traditional like laundromat would be. But we've been running that. It's a little less than a year now. So we're building that business and growing and learning, and we'll see what's next. I don't know, but that's how I've kind of arrived here at where I'm at today. I know that was a lot. So
yeah, that was a roller coaster. And, first of all, sorry to hear about your dad. Lost mine unexpectedly too. Yeah. So I get the punch in the gut that is. Right. And just really, really difficult and puts you in a situation where you got to make a lot of really difficult decisions, right? What are we going to do with these businesses? And it affects a lot long-term. Right. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
Kudos to you and to your mom and your husband for, knuckling down and moving forward. I'm sure it was difficult along the journey. Definitely. So, okay. So let's go back again. What was it like? Yeah, I know. Well, we'll kind of like work our way back through it maybe a little bit.
For sure.
What was it like being a laundromat kid? I mean, there's not too many, multi-generation, people out there, owners, I guess, out there who grew up as a laundromat kid and now are running laundromats. So did you like going? I know my kids, sometimes they like going to laundromat and sometimes they don't want anything to do with it. So I'm curious about you.
Right. I would love to ask my kids that in 15 years and see what they have to say. I would say that it was definitely like overall, I mean, we spent a lot of time there. So it was all like, for me, it's definitely like very nostalgic, very positive memory. A lot of laughs. I mean, that's really where I started to like learn how to do things, right? Like clean and like talk to adults in like a way where it was like, hey, do you need help? Like I can help you with this. So it definitely, I feel like helped me grow like my independent skills and like my ability to like problem solve and frankly, like seeing my parents, be small business owners, be entrepreneurs, like it definitely was a positive force in my life. So I look at it as like a really positive thing. I will say that back in the day, the laundromat, like, I don't know if the air didn't work or like, it just was like not operational or what, but it was hot. Like, I just remember in Pennsylvania, it does get warm in the summer. So I just remember spending my summer break, like sweating, cleaning up dryer sheets, like all the not great things. Right. But my dad definitely made it fun. So we always, business in the morning, we would go have fun, like Hershey Park, go out, do things in the afternoon. So it was definitely good. Yeah,
that's fun. I mean, I think it's good. Right. And for kids to kind of be around and see, how the business works and stuff like that. I mean, I think is a good thing. And, I'm sure you're shielded from some of the highs and lows there, but you still get a glimpse of what it's like and how even at a young age, you learn that nobody knows how to pick up a dryer sheet. Like it's impossible.
Right.
I've heard it said it's the heaviest thing in the world. Apparently.
The dryer sheet. I love that. That's great.
I know.
That's great.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So, I mean, when you guys had to make the big decision, what was kind of helping you decide whether or not you would continue on with the businesses or sell them and move in a different direction? What were some of I mean, I know it's probably originally your mom mostly,
right.
But kind of what was some of the deciding factors in that decision?
So she definitely was, I mean, at that point from a legal perspective, she and my dad had owned the businesses, right? So she was making those end all be all decisions, but she had definitely, like, we were talking about it. We were in conversation. I think my mom, originally was just in like fight or flight mode, and she was fighting, right? Just getting things done, making sure things are operational. She started to take a step back and really assess like what her future looked like. And I think a couple things kind of came into play there. Definitely my dad's legacy. I think we talked a lot about that because he was so passionate about the laundry industry, which is like funny because he kind of fell into that industry, right? Like he didn't start out in life and say like, I want to own a laundromat.
Like most of us do as children. Everybody aspires to that.
Yeah. I hope my kids do, but I won't. Yeah. I mean, if they don't want to do it, that's totally fine with me. I will support them in whatever they do. But, I think it was definitely like, hey, dad was super passionate. He invested like years of his life in this business. Right. And we just felt like, why can't we keep this going? I also think the financial impact was definitely like, we know what we have, right. And the opportunity that we have ahead of us. And I definitely think like laundromats are a great way to help diversify your income. And like, I think just thinking about this current situation, like economic wise, we don't know what is coming next. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's always good from my standpoint to have more than like one source of income, because things can change very quickly, as we learned with like COVID, and other things happening in the world. So I think that was a big factor. And I also think like my mom, she a little bit about her. She works in like the finance industry. She's the senior leader of her team, which is amazing. She actually was running other businesses in addition to the laundromat. So at one point she had like a fitness center. We ran an Airbnb together. So I feel like my mom has always been motivated and always just, this is who she is. And she will always want to like really put effort behind something that she believes in business wise. Yeah. So I think she is definitely motivated also as well in that regard.
Yeah. Sounds like that apple didn't fall too far from the tree for you, maybe.
Right.
You seem pretty motivated and passionate about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, all of that is awesome. And I love like the legacy of your dad kind of aspect of that. I mean, I think it's a beautiful, tribute really, because it's, it's making big decisions. And part of that is to honor your dad. So I love that. Okay. So
not to interrupt, but I did want to say that I still literally have people come up to me that have been going to my laundromat and tell me like, oh, I knew your dad. Like, this is how and they would give me like a story about him or this or that. And always like in a really positive way. So sometimes where it gets hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, I have somebody come up to me and say that to me, or they'll call me and be like, oh, I knew your dad and this is blah, blah, blah. So it's definitely, for me, like fulfilling in that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Okay. So it sounds like then at some point there was a kind of phase 2 of that decision making when your mom said, hey, you want to buy one of these. So right. Can you walk me through, okay, what was yours and your husband's kind of thought process behind, okay, we'll take one of these on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I don't know that we knew what we were getting into, if that makes sense. So I think we were thinking like, hey, this is a great opportunity. Definitely don't want to pass it up. I want to build my business equity and credit, right? So I want to like eventually do more than just, having one laundromat under my name, but definitely like thinking about the future. We both at that time had worked 9 to 5, and this is pre-pandemic, right? So this is before like I was really doing a lot of like remote work. He was doing remote work as well at that time. And I think we were honestly thinking of it as a way to get one of us out of our jobs. At the time, I really honestly didn't have a great, I didn't love the company that I worked for. Like I was growing and learning and doing things, but it didn't necessarily align with where I was at that time. I'm at a different job now, which I actually really love. And it's a completely different situation. So I'm really happy with where I am. But at that time, my husband and I were both like, okay, we don't really like what's going on here with our careers. And I think at that point we were deciding like who would be able to take that step. And we didn't know at the time, right? So we were again both working 9 to 5. But we wanted more. So my mom and I, we started to have conversations about it, started to think about like what the price could be for me to purchase, how I would do that, all of that good stuff. We have a lawyer that we both work with now. So he actually helped us like draft up like a bill of sale and all of that good stuff. And then my mom started introducing me to all of her business contacts. So from like a accounting perspective, where she would get all of her parts from, where she would get other supplies from, just to start to help introduce me into the industry. Right. So this was even before we bought the laundromat. So that way I could start to like build just what my knowledge base was. And then that was probably like 2017, 2018. And then when we purchased the laundromat, it was 2019.
Okay.
So in February of 2019.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting. And then, so, I mean, one of your goals was to get you or your husband out of the job, the career that path that you were in. You're obviously still in that career path. What about your husband? Where's he at with all that?
So he was working in the finance industry. And he was working in operations. His job basically said like, hey, you can continue here. That's fine. But it really like didn't align with his passions. Like I could tell was like not very happy. And then I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but he also started his own pressure washing business. So his exterior cleaning business. Mm-hmm. So he was basically doing that on the side. So like weekends, evenings, taking PTO for like big jobs, stuff like that. So he was doing that. And he'll get into like his busy season in the summer. So like Pennsylvania definitely has like a hard winter where he can't do any exterior cleaning. So he spends a lot more time like helping with the laundromats and things like that. But at that point, we kind of sat down, we looked at our finances. We were able to reduce a lot of expenses because of COVID. So like I wasn't driving to work. I wasn't even, spending the time that we would do commuting. My kids didn't need to go to aftercare because like there was no aftercare with COVID, right? They just had to come home right after school. They were also doing the remote school. There was no summer camp. So that was like a reduced expense. And I think we literally sat down and we just said like, hey, I think it's time. I think we can do this. We actually debated on it for like months. We were just like super unsure about it. It's scary, right? To like cut his source of income decision. Off,
yeah.
Right. And again, it was something like he had worked at this financial industry for 8 years. So like he had worked there for a long time, built a lot of like rapport. He had a great reputation at the firm he was in. Like everybody loved working with my husband. But he just kind of decided like, I need more. I can't be like tied down by this 9 to 5 again, that really he wasn't super passionate about. So ripped the Band-Aid off mid last year. And he has been working. So he's working for my mom and I for the laundromats that we co-own, the 2 laundromats. And then he is also working for me at the one in Carlisle that I own by myself.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do. And, I see that, and it really doesn't matter what income level you're at your job. It's still, it's hard. If you're a high income earner, it's hard to give up that high income. If you're a low income earner, it's hard to give up that income, and it doesn't matter. Right. That's just a tough, brave decision to make.
Yeah. And also, I mean, there's benefits that come with that, right? So like you have your health insurance, you have paid time off, you have disability. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into that decision. Now we have been able to make things happen for my husband outside of that. So when he quit, we were still able to like do everything we needed to do for him there. I mean, we don't get PTO, but we're also making income while we're off. So it's kind of like a give and take. I will say though, that the laundry service, he's been doing a lot of the work with the laundry service, which is great. But we're at this position, like we are going to be hiring, because he, at this point, like he has so many things going on that I don't want to take away from one of those things by having him do a lot of this laundry service work. So we have made that decision, and, we're hoping that then helps us, get stuff off of our plate so we can focus on some other things. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's awesome that, he was able to kind of make that decision, or you guys were able to kind of make that decision. You're able to make it work. And I mean, it's also tough to, if he's kind of the primary driver of your, pickup and delivery service business, that's a hard transition to make too, when you're like, how do you know when you're ready to hire somebody, for that role and spend your time somewhere else? How did you guys make that decision?
I mean, I think it really honestly came down to his time. Like, where was he spending his time? Again, we're also getting into the busy season for his pressure washing business. So like, I don't want to take away from that, because that's a highly competitive industry. And again, in central Pennsylvania, it's only like a short time period. So he has to really focus on that and building that business too. So it was definitely a difficult decision, but we knew that like when he was spending too much of his time there and not being able to like get to the other things, that it was time to switch that. Yeah.
So how has it been so far since you've taken over that laundromat for you guys? I mean, I know you're still helping your mom run the other two also, but since you took over your, the one, how has that, how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's definitely been a challenge. Like, it's a challenge for me personally. I am definitely still trying to figure out like balance, and I'll put that in like air quotes because I don't know that you ever will have balance, right? Like, I think it's more about ebbing and flowing. There are times where I am much busier and much more involved. And then there are some times where I can't be as involved or as busy, but it just depends. And I also appreciate like my husband. We are a great team because we both like see each other's strengths and we play into that. We're also very supportive of each other. So when I have like a very critical time period at my job, right? Like there are some days where I'm like, no, I can't answer the phone. Right. Or no, I can't go do these things. So he is there and can pick up the slack. Now, I don't know if he still had his 9 to 5, if he would be able to do that as much. But definitely, very like supportive. And I mean, there are some days that are hard days. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are days where I'm just like, literally like I can get to my wit's end with somebody, and it's definitely challenging. Like the customer service aspect is difficult. We've had a lot of difficulty with COVID, with as far as like our vendors are concerned, like getting access to the things that we need in terms of like maintenance, fixing equipment, parts, even laundry soap, like cleaning supplies, like the list goes on and on how we were affected and impacted because of COVID. But I'm hopeful that over the next couple years, like that resolves. To be confirmed. I have no idea, what will be next, but it's given me a lot of perspective. It has brought a lot of like joy to my life. So there's definitely a lot of like positive parts, but I definitely feel like it's been more challenging than I think I had expected from the original like situation. Like I honestly didn't really know what to expect running my own business. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. And my mom was like, I want you to, if you want this, I will help you get this. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. It's definitely completely changed my life. Like I'm not going to go back right to where I was before. And I definitely think like the future is bright for me and my husband in terms of like what we want to accomplish and achieve. And having this experience, like we can essentially apply this business experience to any industry, right? I don't see us going away from the laundromat industry because we love it so much, but I'm not going to put a cap on what we want to achieve and accomplish overall.
I like that. Out of curiosity, what do you love about this business?
Well, I love the flexibility of it, frankly. Like for me, it's definitely great because again, I work a 9 to 5. So when something happens, like I can literally go before my job in the morning. I can go on my lunch break if I need to after work. There's a lot of things that I can do remotely, which is definitely great. We've automated a lot of things. So even when it comes down to like answering the phone or giving a customer a refund, I do try to do a lot of things with like technology, which is awesome. I love the customers when they love me.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, there's always people that are going to complain, but I'm going to put them to the side. But I will say a lot of people have come to me and said like, hey, I appreciate like having a clean, safe space to do my laundry. Mm-hmm. They take their kids there, they take their families there. They're definitely like, you have the cleanest laundromat in this area. So when I hear things like that, it's definitely fulfilling for me. I also love the financial like impact for me personally. Again, like our goal was to diversify our income. So we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket. And for me, like it's definitely helped open doors for me financially, just overall.
Yeah. I think those are the reasons that we get into the business, right? Like the most of us is like the financial stuff and the flexibility, the flex time, before work, during lunch, after work kind of stuff. And the community aspect too, I think gets overlooked a lot, which is, I don't know. I think it's one of the beauties of this industry because laundromats do tend to be a community hub, right? That's where the community gets together to do their least favorite chore.
Right.
Or one of them.
I mean, I have a lot of people that love doing laundry.
Yeah. Well, so they're weird. No,
they're hired.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's definitely like, I have learned a lot about myself. I have made a lot of connections, which I really like. Like I'm definitely an extrovert. I'm a people person. Like I like to meet people, talk to people, understand their motivations, like their story, their perspective in life. And it's definitely helped me expand my network a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of automation and using technology. Like what kinds of things are you utilizing to help you kind of run your business or automate your business? Right.
So all of our stores are unattended. Some have an attendant, like a cleaning person longer than others, just depending on the location. But we're able to lock and open the store remotely. So we have 2 that are on timers. One of our stores is 24 hours. We do have like cameras, obviously. Mm-hmm. We have a 2-way camera.
You say obviously, but there's a lot of laundromats that don't have cameras still.
Well, so they better buckle up and get the camera.
I know.
That's a little scary. I know that was like my dad had cameras, but I don't know if they were like as high quality as what my mom ended up putting in. She was like, this is one of the things I'm going to do. We have a 2-way camera, so you can literally talk to somebody, like if somebody's sleeping there, like, past time or whatever. doing a lot of like the texting. So instead of having to like call somebody back, they get a text message. And frankly, what I'm doing, so one of our stores is a card store, and then two of them are still coin. Mm-hmm. So with the card store, it makes it a lot easier to give somebody a refund, obviously. But for the coin store, we're doing like Apple Pay, Venmo, Cash App. And of course, like we'll mail it to you if you really want it mailed to you. But a lot of my customers appreciate like the fact that we can just Venmo them whatever they lost in a machine, which it does happen. Right. But they seem to be a little bit more like understanding when I can give them their funds immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. That does help a lot to be able to do that. Cause I know for a lot of unattended stores, that's a big kind of sticking point. Cause when things do go wrong, or, a bank quarter goes in and now all of a sudden you can't put any more quarters in, or whatever the case may be. When you look around and there's nobody there to help you, it's not nice. Yeah, it's not great. And it's not a good experience, but it's nice to be able to say, hey, no big deal.
Right.
Here, let me give you your money back right now. You throw it in the other machine. So that's good.
Definitely positive. And we're always looking for new things. So like, I would like to get our other stores to like a hybrid store situation where we're able to like accept card and coin. Like that would be ideal. We're not there yet. There's other things that we're investing in, but it's definitely like, you have to pace out what you're doing. You can't just like do everything at once. It's not attainable.
Yeah.
Or realistic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of like growing your business, right? If you just throw a lot of money, even if you have it, right? Like you just throw all the money in at once, it's not, well, it might work, but it's more likely to work if you can build it and you have a solid foundation for it and you're ready to go. So,
right. Exactly. It takes time.
Yeah, it does. Sadly, sometimes
I know. And that's kind of, so like when I first started this when I was on my own solo venture, right. I was getting frustrated with myself because I definitely like to like have things be perfect. Right. And I would get really upset when things wouldn't go right. And I had to literally learn to take a step back, like think big picture, but also like, Rome wasn't built in a day. Right. So like have to really pace what the biggest, highest priority item is, focus your energy on that, get to the next thing, focus your energy on that and go to the next thing. So it's definitely progressive, and I could definitely get overwhelmed just looking at like all of the things that need done. So really I was spending like, I have spent my time really focusing my energy over the last couple of years.
Yeah. I'm not very great at like knocking down one domino at a time, kind of thing. Yeah. I am like, bam, 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 like all over the map. And that's my natural tendency. And I have to focus really hard to like see one thing through completion and then move to the next one. Cause I'm on to the next thing. I think that's
human nature. I also think that's indicative of the time that we're in right now, right? With like social media, all of these distractions. It's definitely like, and trying not to compare yourself to somebody else. Like that's a really big thing. So I really trying to I found that when I do focus on one thing, I actually get better results because I can get it done faster.
Absolutely. I'm like a full believer in that. And yet still I struggle with that all over the place, the place.
Totally. You could ask my husband. He would be like, yeah, she's doing the dishes, forget something, walks away, not doing the dishes. And you know what I mean? Like that's so me. But.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, it's like my wife will think that I'm like a slob or something, cause I'll do something like that, or I'll like be eating and I'll leave my plate like on the table and then I'll go do something else. And I totally forget about it.
Come back.
I'm going to go to bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, half my dinner is still here. I forgot all
that sounds accurate.
Yeah. Okay. So at what point did you decide to start a pickup and delivery business. I mean, you didn't have enough going on. So you're like,
right. Well, that's what everybody says. All my friends are just like, how are you doing all of this? And I'm like, well, it's a lot of delegation, it's like you pick and choose your battles. But why did we start? Well, again, my mom was like, hey, I think we should look into this. We talked to a few people. We went to the Clean Show. I guess that was in 2019. I think it was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
We went there, we looked at a lot of the different technologies, signed up for some demos just to try to start to get some information. Right. And then COVID hit and we were like, wait, this is a serious business opportunity. Let's continue to investigate this. And then we decided, I think it was like the end of 2020 to really pursue this. Hey, we're going to do this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then came up with the brand, website, got the software, all that good stuff. And we launched in, I think it was April of 2021 was our soft launch basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what does a launch of a pickup and delivery look like? How did you start getting customers? Marketing over here.
Yeah, we did. I was going to say a lot of marketing. The social media definitely helped us get there initially, to get the word out. Google My Business. I mean, that's a big tool for our industry overall. We had a website created. So definitely looking at the digital space and of course, word of mouth. That's also a big part of it as well.
Yeah. Have you guys run any ads or anything? Or are you just doing it all organically?
So we did social ads, which really performed to get our awareness out there. I will say there's a couple things, right? Because you need to start to build your brand awareness wise. And I believe personally that this isn't a immediate kind of decision that is made to sign up for a laundry service. Basically, I think that there are some considerations that go into that. And then, some research from the customer side. And then from there, once they're convinced they're ready to take that next step, we try to make it as easy as possible for them to do that. But I would say the social media is definitely an awareness builder. And then when you get into things like Google ads, that is more targeted based on conversion. Mm-hmm. So, I am not currently running any Google ads for the laundry service, but in the future, I may do some testing there. I will say that I do run the Google ads for the laundromat because that is a little bit different. Just in terms of I think that there's, based on my understanding and my own research, there's a lot of people just basically going to Google and looking immediate, laundromat near me, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of our biggest search terms. And if we're not ranking organically, we want to be able to rank and use paid advertisements to do that. Not to get off track, but one of my laundromats. So one of the laundromats is in an area that is basically it's a hub for tractor trailers. And also there is a huge event scene there, and it's a car event scene. So these are some of the biggest car shows on the East Coast that's literally happening in the backyard of my laundromat. So when it is busy season, which will start to be in busy season in April, I will do a lot of geofencing around that location. Mm-hmm. And then I also do run a geofenced ad around the truck stops, because I know for a fact that the laundry services in the truck stops are not great. That's really, really a bad experience if they even have a laundry service there. Right. So we do get a lot of truck traffic in my area. So I think it all depends on who's your customer, what's your goal. And frankly, a lot of different demographic information, because my customer in Harrisburg could look a lot different than my customer in another city.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think knowing your customer is kind of the key to the marketing success, right? And I think it's smart to, target potential audiences, especially underserved potential audiences, through geofencing and targeted ads. And it makes a lot of sense too. If you feel like you're in a phase in your area where there needs to be some education and some nurturing for customers for your service, your pickup and delivery service, Google is great, but it's search intent. Right. Mm-hmm. And so if people don't know there's that service there, then that search is not happening and you're not going to get the conversions that you're looking for. However, if somebody's searching laundromat near me, which happens all the time, there's search intent there. And that's where the conversions can come. And that's why I think social is a great place to start for, when you're starting off your business, unless there are other kind of established businesses in your area, then maybe throwing in some Google in there too.
Right. Exactly. And I will say, like, social media is much more low cost than Google. Like, Google can get extremely competitive. And I feel like social helps you get hyper targeted with your customer, but also, like, it's actually much more cost effective than I think people think it is, frankly.
Yeah. Which is great. And the only way you know that is if you try it and test it and
just put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then improve it. Right. And then test it again and improve it and then test it again. Yeah. Right. And it gets cheaper that way.
Right. And I think that's kind of like our motto right now, because like I said, we kind of like soft launched because we were just like putting feelers out there. We didn't really know. And like our risk was kind of low. Right. Because we have these laundromats. We're not needing to like lease a space. We do have a vehicle, but we're also utilizing that vehicle other places in the business. Like, we're using it for the actual laundromats. Right. And we purchased the software, which wasn't extremely, a huge investment. Right. It was still an investment. Right. But like I said, we already had all these pieces here. So we were just like, all right, let's try to take this to the next level. The business is definitely growing. It's definitely like, I feel like year one is like a building year. It's all about like experiences. It's all about like trial and error, like learning things the hard way kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We've built up a great customer base. I'm grateful for them, very appreciative of them subscribing to our service and, referring other people has been awesome. But I'm definitely like, I'm hoping that this year we can have a renewed focus in our marketing and like outreach efforts. That's definitely something that I'm trying to do, but it's always difficult, again, balancing all of these things, all of these priorities.
Yeah. Yeah. And your 9 to 5 and your family and all that.
Right.
Too.
And their goals and what they have going on. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I get a lot of questions about like, can you own laundromats and have a 9 to 5 job? Like, a lot. So can you give us a little insight? Like, number one, is that possible? And to be able to maintain your sanity, have a 9 to 5 and run one or more laundromats. Yeah. And number two, like what kinds of things, if it is possible, help make that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it is possible. It's not for the faint of heart. So I think if you're that person that literally just wants to like get off your 9 to 5, get off work, right, and like sit on the couch, that is not for you. This is not a passive industry. And I think I think there's a lot of like people that say it is passive and it has that reputation. Sometimes it's like easy money. And I don't think anything is ever easy when it comes to making money. I think you have to put the work in, you have to put the dedication in there. I think you have to figure out a lot of things on your own. I mean, of course there's resources available, which we'll talk a little bit more about, I'm sure. But if you're not willing to put the work in, you're not getting what you want out of it. Right. I think if you're expecting it to be easy, my answer would be don't do it, because you're not going to serve the customer appropriately. But I think if you're one of those people that says like, hey, I want more, I want to expand my viewpoint, expand my financial situation, and you're willing to put the time in, absolutely. I think it goes back to being as organized as you can, which is hard, easier said than done, trying to do your due diligence before you get into a situation, which I'm grateful for my mom for giving me that opportunity. So that way I didn't just jump in head first and have, nothing to stand on. She at least gave me some of that experience. Mm-hmm. It helps that she has a business background as well and has like financial connections, which is awesome. It helps, me out tremendously. I will say that, again, going back to like the automation, I don't know if we bought another store, I would need to like, something would have to give, right? So like, that's why I kind of talked about perhaps maybe doing like a hybrid situation with one of our 2 other stores, not the card store. That's already card. That was also one of the things that we did to like automate, was putting in the card store. It was previously a coin store, and then we transferred it to card. Mm-hmm. So I would likely need to implement something like that in order to like expand what I'm doing a little bit more. Like if I wanted to get into a new location or something like that, which I would love to, but I don't really have a time frame for that, because who knows what can happen again. But we would need to look at like what we're doing and see how to balance that.
Yeah. I mean, cause it is a lot. And I like that you say like, it's not for the faint of heart. And if depending on where you're at, in life, if you want, if you're okay with, sometimes you're going to have to go before or after work, or sometimes you have to take calls at lunch break or whatever. Or
and my kids, like, they ride along with us, right? Like they definitely come to they don't, some days they love it. Sometimes they don't. Yeah. But they definitely like come with us and get to be a part of that. We do, like, I have so many people that help us, which I'm grateful for. And again, having my mom have that experience. So I'm not just like going at this blind, frankly. Mm-hmm. Like that's definitely, if I had to give somebody advice, it would be like, find a mentor. Like if you don't know somebody in this industry, like start figuring that out now. If you want to get into it.
Yeah. You're jumping the gun on me here. I'm going to ask you that. I'm sorry. Say it again.
I'll say it. Yeah. I'll remember it.
Can I mean, you just mentioned something sort of casually, but can I ask you about, you mentioned that you took a coin store and you converted it to a card store. Can you tell me like, what was that experience like? How did the customers respond? How did it affect business?
Yeah. So that was the store that my dad built in 2014, and it was a Speed Queen store, and it was coin only. That store it's in a neighborhood that is definitely like, it's an interesting neighborhood. It's definitely like very tight-knit community. But there are times where there are people that should not be there. Like they have ill intent. And I think once my dad passed away, my mom was kind of looking at what her holistic situation was, how she could get rid of something, like basically, how can I get these things that are taking me down off my plate so I can focus on the really important things? That was the consideration, basically. So we went with CCI. Mm-hmm. So they have their kiosks, put the kiosks in. And then basically each machine, now they were newer machines, right? Because they were put in 2014. If you have older machines, you're not going to be able to make this conversion. But basically each machine has like a card reader. Overall, I think the customers, like at first they were a little bit like unsure of it, but with like communication around it, like we made it, like we were present when, like for the first couple of weeks, right? Of like communicating with people about like how to use their card, what to do, what the benefits are. We do give bonuses, right? So like if you put $20 in, you get a $2 bonus. So there's definitely benefits for the customer, right? So just trying to like explain that. I feel like overall it makes things like a lot easier for us, to run things manually. It's great for our attendants who come in and clean when there's an issue. They can just resolve it right then and there. We don't need a phone call and like have to hash it out with anybody. Mm-hmm. But I would say overall the response has been positive. I mean, there again, it's a community-based store. So we're getting a lot of repeat customers. And I like in my store in Carlisle that has a lot of the truck traffic and the RV traffic. That's kind of why I wanted to say like, hey, let's think about a hybrid store, because I do get a lot of people that don't come back. I do get a lot of traffic that is literally like, hey, I'm here for this car show this weekend. I need to wash my clothes. Or, hey, I'm coming in from this other state. This is my rest stop. I need to wash my clothes. So I don't want to like tie a customer down with a laundry card necessarily at this moment. This could change at a later time. I don't know. I don't want to put anything in stone. I know I'm saying this out loud, so I am, but at the same time, like, I feel like it's a different customer and they may have a different reaction to something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes perfect sense. It sounds like you're thinking, logically about it. And I think you're probably right. Like a truck driver who's just passing through probably doesn't want to put $20 on the card to get an extra $2 because 18 of it's going to sit there until who knows how long, right? If not forever.
If any. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I will say though, like, for example, not taking a credit card, like I have received feedback regarding that, because there are some truck drivers that literally like their company will pay for their laundry and they have a company card and then they can't use it because.
Right.
Yeah. So it's, again, it's one of those things where I can't get overwhelmed by looking into like doing everything at one time, but I'm upgrading machines. Like we're doing a lot of things in that store. So that way at some point, if we want to convert to hybrid, we have the flexibility to do that.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, it sounds like you're thinking about it the right way, from what I can tell. So
yeah. And also it is expensive to convert. So like, I don't want to have to, have all of these expenses at one time, frankly, for my own sanity. So
yeah. And it is a business decision, right? Like you have to decide, like, am I going to get a return on that money? If it's 4 truck drivers that need the credit card functionality, it's probably not worth it. Right. So you got to find the value there. And I'm sure there's more obviously value and more usage for that, but you gotta weigh that cost versus that opportunity.
Right. Like I would love to be able to remote start my machines, like those types of things. Which is why I'm, next 5 years, I would love to get there with with these stores that are a little bit farther away from me.
Yeah. 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 The management becomes so much easier. Awesome. I mean, I think those are the things that I wanted to hit before we jump into the first segment or second segment. I don't know, whatever segment we're in, called Down to Business. And Down to Business, we're just going to talk a little more details about your actual businesses. So, so remind us again, where are you located?
Okay. So we have 3 laundromats. We have one in Uptown Harrisburg. And all in central Pennsylvania. We have one in Lebanon and then one in Carlisle. So I am located in Harrisburg. So Carlisle is about a 30-minute drive. And then Lebanon is about a 45-minute drive in the opposite direction.
Okay. I always thought it was Lebanon. It's Lebanon.
I think it changes. I also think central Pennsylvania has a specific dialect in how we pronounce things, right? Like one of the areas I'd love to get into is Lancaster, which a lot of people pronounce that differently in other areas.
That's how I would say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause you're in California. Are you in California?
I'm in California. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a Lancaster, California, which is pronounced differently.
No, there's a Lancaster, California.
Yeah. See, no. So the dialect is definitely different here.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So, and then you have, the one laundromat for you, and then the 2 that you're helping out with your mom, right? And you're a laundromat baby, basically, laundromat child. Yeah. And so you've been in the industry in one way or another.
Literally 1999 was when my dad bought his first laundromat. So
yeah. I
was like 10 years old.
Yeah. So, so you've been in it for a while. Well, tell me, I mean, what does it cost to do laundry in central Pennsylvania?
So our 20 pound, and it depends on the store.
Mhm.
So some of the stores we have top loaders in, some we don't. Our tops start at $4.75. And then we have 40s, 60s, and then we have 80s in one of our stores. So the 80s go up to like $10 basically.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always interesting to me to hear how much people charge, all over.
Yeah.
Cause it varies so much. Well,
it definitely varies. I will say that, so we are in unprecedented times right now with inflation, right? So we are going to be looking at our costs like across the board. It's not something we take lightly because we don't like charging the customer rate too much. Like that directly impacts them. But we have seen an increase in utility costs, costs to get our products that we sell, costs to actually get the machines, right? Like everything is literally going up. Yeah. Parts are going up, labor is going up. So, we give our attendants yearly raises and minimum wages TBD at this point from a federal standpoint. So everything is getting a little bit more expensive. We definitely know we are like lower in the pricing, just like across the board as far as like competitors are concerned, but also industry. So we are like looking at that. But again, it's like not something that we take super lightly, frankly.
Yeah. Well, and I think right now, especially like making sure you're being priced right, but also, you want to take care of your community. So it is it is a balance that you gotta find there. Cause you are running a business and you can't serve your customers well if you're not making money.
Exactly.
So I know that firsthand. So.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So you have one card store and two coin stores and no hybrid stores yet.
No, but CBD. No. I mean, we don't know where we're going, right? Like we would like to own another laundromat. We would love to expand our pickup and delivery services in another metro, like close by. But that then takes, getting a laundromat in that area if possible. So we're not doing all this driving. So we'll see what happens. If that happens, then we have to look at other ways to make our lives easier for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, how much time are you spending? I know your husband's spending a lot of time. How much time are you spending on the laundromats these days, like per week?
Well, I feel like I'm going to put like the laundry service to the side because that is a different entity and I don't want to like confuse it. But I mean, between my mom, my husband and I mean, we're probably at like 50 to 60 hours a week, depending on what the situation is, right? Because we could have weeks where people call off and I go and clean. I do not care. I will not let my store look dirty. I will drive and make it right. Right. So like some of those times where my employee maybe needs off, I'm spending more time than I would. So again, like ebbs and flows. There are some weeks where I just solely focus on paperwork and doing the paperwork and all of that. And my husband's in the store. There are some weeks where it's a repair that needs 2 people. So I'm in the store with him. Right. So it's kind of, I don't want to say finite, but I would say between like 40 to 60 hours between the 3 of us.
Yeah. Split between the 3 of you. Yeah. I mean, that's great. And with 3 laundromats, I mean, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. I mean, it's maintenance, it's cleaning, it's customer service, it's vendors, vendor situations, right? Landlords, we have to work with them a lot. I mean, the list goes on. So
yeah, it's a lot. All right. Well, that sounds great. Thank you for sharing about your business. We have another segment called Secret Sauce. And Secret Sauce is this. What's a piece of advice that you have, or what's something that's maybe working for your laundromats that might help other laundromat owners grow their business or improve their business?
So I think there's probably a couple of things, but I definitely think you have to be hands-on. like whether that's hands-on with the customer, hands-on with the equipment, hands-on with other things in your business. Like I said, the vendor relationships, the management of everything, the operation side. So I would say that you definitely have to be open to learning new things. You have to push yourself. I am not very mechanically inclined, but my husband is. Mm-hmm. So he has saved us a ton of money by doing his own repairs, like when he is able to. So definitely try. Like if you think you can do it, just give it a try. I mean, you might mess up some things. You might buy the wrong part. I mean, it's never ideal, but definitely roll your sleeves up in whatever you can do. Again, I'm not very mechanically inclined, so I'm not going to like sugarcoat that and misrepresent, but definitely having my husband available and like doing those things is definitely helpful for me and my mom, so we can focus on more of the operation side.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that is, I think about Daniel Logan, who was on the podcast a little while ago, and he talks about the concept of like standing in the gap, right? And like, filling in the spots that, taking the responsibility, like not being afraid to jump in the car and drive to make sure your laundromat's clean, or making sure machines are working, or, whatever kind of, you got to have that, like, do whatever it takes mentality,
literally
to succeed in business.
Yeah.
And when you lose that, that's when your business starts to slip. So
for sure. I would say, like, again, I think I talked a little bit about this, but it's not a passive industry. So if you're like trying to get into this and you think that you can literally, I mean, if you hire a manager, fine, but that's cutting into your profit, right? So like, do you actually want that? Yes or no? Payroll is definitely a big expense. So hiring like cleaning people that do their job, awesome. But do you want to add a manager onto that? Like, I'm not sure. Somebody could sit down and say like, hey, I want to have, which I know other multi-store owners that have been on your show. I mean, they're owning like 20, 40 laundromats, which is crazy. So then of course you need to hire a manager. Like that's a different situation here, right? Like what we're talking about is a much smaller scale than what they're operating at.
So far.
I never know. You never know.
You never know.
I don't want to put a cap on that, but
that's right. That's what I'm talking about.
It all depends on like what amount of effort you want to put in. That's what's going to come back to you. Right. And like, are you updating machines? Are your machines up and running? Are things clean? Are you doing a deep clean? Does it need a new coat of paint? Like there's a lot of things that we have done over the years, just again, really minor little things that are making a difference. But I also will say like, expect the unexpected. So like in the last year at my laundromat, I've had to replace the hot water heater. I've had to replace the heater. And then on Christmas Eve, my sewer line broke.
Oh.
So I had to shut my store down for like several days. And my landlord was she was traveling for Christmas internationally. And I'm lucky that I caught her on Christmas Eve and it didn't happen on Christmas Day. So basically I had to like drop everything, try to find people on Christmas Eve to like get me open basically so I could like operate. That didn't happen for like a week because the store was that like degraded. And then basically I got all of these bids from like contractors to come in and like replace the sewer. And my landlord, by the time she got back from her trip, she looked at the proposal, said, great, let's go. And then my sewer was replaced in a couple of days. But those are all things that people don't talk about or like think about or like plan for. Yeah. So you always have to have like a backup, basically.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
Yeah. I think the redundancy thing is a big deal too. Even having like multiple plumbers that, that you have, and that all those kinds of things. And going back to, I mean, you were mentioning, hey, if you want to hire a manager and like, the people who've been on the podcast or other people who have like 10, 20, 40, 100, whatever laundromats, right? It's not that they're not working hard. It's just as you scale, your role shifts and you start working on different things for your business. So those people are still working hard, getting their hands dirty. They're just getting their hands dirty in a different way.
Exactly.
And that's part of like going back to our earlier conversation where, you build that foundation and then you grow and continue to evolve and change. And, maybe it's your husband who's kind of kicking off the pickup and delivery. And now you found that, it's actually more valuable for him to be spending his time doing other things. So you're going to hire somebody to help you with that. And then as it continues to grow, you'll probably bring on more people.
Exactly.
And, and then all of a sudden you're at a point where you're like, well, man, I need a manager to help me manage all this. And now my job is going to shift. And those are like kind of those key critical decisions, right? When to do that, how to do that. What does my role shift to? Can I do the new role? What do I need to learn? Who do I need to become, to be that new role? Right. And so, it's all the process, right? The whole Rome wasn't built in a day concept.
So. Yeah. My mom and I talk a lot about following the path. We're like, okay, we're just going to keep following it because we don't know what's around. Like, we're not really sure why this is happening. We're just going to keep pushing along. Like that's kind of what we keep saying to each other. Cause again, there's days where it's like I said, Christmas Eve, oh my God, it was horrible. Like it literally was horrible. It was horrible timing. A horrible situation. Like I never want to shut the laundromat down. That's like one of the things that we're like super proud of. We're literally like, no, we run 365. So shutting it down for I think we ended up shutting it down for I think it was 3 or 4 days. That was painful for me because I had people calling me literally being like, why aren't you guys open? And I'm just like, listen, we're having a sewer problem. Like this is a situation. Our sewer needs replaced. It's something that we didn't, perfect timing basically.
Yeah.
So, it's never an ideal situation, but it's like, you have to push through it with whatever you have to get to the other side to handle the next thing. Cause there's always going to be a next thing. But you definitely need to just, again, and this is why I'm so grateful for my mom, because I think she can see big picture and help me push me a little bit to not get so frustrated or try to be short-sighted in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that. And those things always happen at the worst times. Right. I've had to sprint out just before a birthday party or something and then sprint back to deal with some issue. And I think I've mentioned this on the podcast, but one Christmas Eve, I couldn't get a plumber out. I got one plumber out. I had a backed up toilet and a plumber. I got one plumber to come out and he's like, yeah, there's something solid in the toilet. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I called you. And he's like, I can't do anything about it, and left. And I had to go out Christmas Eve and remove the toilet, and somebody had shoved a potato in the drain.
Oh my God.
It's just what? I mean, you just can't. Those are the things you can't plan for, right?
No.
So.
Yeah. And people are just most of my customers are awesome. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have those couple people that literally will bring you down. I have experienced, the list could go on and on and on in terms of the people that have just done just dumb stuff like that. It's just not cool. And they just think they can do it because it's a laundromat,
Right. Yeah.
Not my favorite part of running the business.
I know but the thing about that too is it's the same with the community, right? The community, the majority of the communities are awesome. And it's just a few people that make the community, totally rough for everybody else. Right. So that's one of the things that I've seen in the business is you got to kind of stuff happens and vandalism and, all kinds of problems and stuff, but you got to remember most of your customer base is probably great. And it's just a few people that cause the problems. So, all right, we got another segment called Pro Tips. And Pro Tips is, what advice do you have for someone who's getting into the business for the first time?
So we talked a little bit about this, but I would definitely say network and like put yourself out there, do your research. You find people that are doing what you want to do. Perhaps maybe that's a mentor that is willing to like take you in under their wing, or it could be like, hey, meeting your distributor, right? And talking to distributors and getting to know more about the machines themselves. Once you make those connections, I think they open up doors for you. Like once you're putting it out there in the universe, like things will start coming back to you. I will definitely say like relationship building is a big part of this industry. Like you talked a little bit about like having multiple technicians, like that's huge. You need to have a lot of people on your like team basically helping you out, which I'm grateful for. Again, having a good distributor is really important. There is this like underground laundromat industry happening, right? So like, sure, you can go online and like Google laundromats for sale and you're going to get a bunch of brokers, and that's fine. They're not going to like that I'm saying this, but there's also this hidden industry where like it's like friends and family kind of situation. And I think if you start to put those connections out there, something could come of that. But I think that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like your phrasing, kind of the hidden underground industry thing going on. Cause a lot of laundromats are sold even through brokers as, before they hit the general market, they're almost like pocket listings, if you will. And so you got to kind of insert yourself into that community in order to, find those types of deals. Now, there's other ways to get laundromats and all that too, but a lot of times those are where the opportunities are.
Exactly. Yes. There are people that, you can drive around and find a space that was previously a laundromat. It happens because I don't know what happened to the previous owner, right? Maybe they weren't investing in the industry. Maybe they weren't investing back in their business, or they wanted to get into a different industry, the store closed, landlord situation. It doesn't matter what the situation was, but there are laundromats that are sitting there without any like buddy to like take care of them. So like in that instance, that's definitely like a hidden gem. I've talked to other people that have done that, have taken over laundromats that are just inoperable and fix them. But the equipment's worth $0. Right. So you have to kind of know enough to negotiate, also make sure that the things that need to be okay, like your sewer line, your utilities, like that is okay. So it's definitely like, you don't want to get into that situation without any knowledge or understanding, because you could literally purchase something that could make you bankrupt if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that does happen.
Oh yeah.
Does happen. Yeah.
So. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I've definitely, like I said, I'm very like lucky in terms of like having this opportunity like present itself. It's definitely unfortunate that like this is the situation, because I would love my dad to be here and like, us running them together. I think he would love that too. Yeah. But at the same time, like I definitely feel like we're going to keep this going. And I don't know, like, I hope my kids like want to get involved, but you never know. Like they may literally say, hey, I want to get out of central Pennsylvania. I'm tired of this area. I want to move somewhere else. And they don't want to take over the business, which I see a lot, but, I would feel great if they did, if they wanted to keep it going. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, just, keep them involved and see what happens.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
That's right. All right. Last segment is called recommended resources, which I'm guessing is some of the stuff we've already talked about, but do you have any resources that you'd recommend for people to help them either improve their business or improve themselves?
So again, I definitely feel like the networking, right? Because you want to, meet people in the financial industry. You definitely need like a great accountant, lawyer. technician, HVAC, plumbing, whatever. You definitely want to hopefully have a good landlord. I'm really lucky. I have a great landlord that I have a great relationship with. She's awesome. I feel like just those things are great resources. And in terms of like having people around you that help you, mentorship, if there's somebody out there that like has questions, I would love to do that. I've helped out other laundromat owners in the past. I know that you have a great network. The forums on Facebook, I'm not a huge like Facebook person, but I will go on Facebook just to look at those forums specifically. I've asked questions. I've answered other people's questions in there. I've PM'd people and like had whole conversations with them. That's definitely invaluable. I will also say the distributor, like, get to know them, talk to them, talk to the techs. If the tech is there, like, go and ask them questions, watch them repair something, right? So you don't have to do it the next time. Within reason, of course, but definitely making those connections. I will also say like the Coin Laundry Association, like their events are really nice. So, like they're nice because of the networking aspect, but then also just like the educational aspect. There's a lot of things going on. It's not just like people selling you stuff. Of course, there are vendors there, right, that like want that, which we've had a great experience talking to vendors. So that's amazing. It's an amazing experience to go to some of these shows. But then there's also like that educational aspect as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of that's what I would say. I'm like reading. There are some books that I read, like business-based books, which are great, but I don't personally have a ton of time to invest in that at this point. I do like listen to some podcasts, like business-based podcasts, on Spotify. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of like, how hungry are you? Are you willing to stick your neck out there and just like say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I really want to get in this industry. Like, let's chat. That takes a lot to do that and put yourself out there. So I think if you're really serious about it, like, come up with your pitch, figure out, what you want to say, what you want to get out of the situation, and just start pitching, start going, start like, again, putting yourself out there.
Yeah. I think that was a lot of really great resources. And I mean, a lot of it just has to do with, hey, start meeting the people that can help you succeed. Right. And educating yourself. So great resources. Well, I mean, you threw it out there. So if anybody has any questions or wants to connect with you and network with you, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
So I will give you my, like, do you have like a place on your page so you can like link my email or anything like that? Or LinkedIn? I would definitely say email is probably the best way to get in touch with me, or like LinkedIn. I have a professional LinkedIn page. So those two things would probably be the best way.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll link to those in the show notes page, or if you're watching on YouTube, then I'll put them down in the description. Awesome. Lauren, this has been awesome. Thank you for sharing your story with us and your experience with us and all your wisdom with us. I thought it was an awesome show, and a ton of really good and super actionable stuff for anybody who is either already in this industry or who's looking to get into it. So thanks for taking the time and spending it with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Anytime.
You are welcome anytime around.
Great. Well, who knows? I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and say, I don't know where I'm going to be in a couple of years. So I might come back with a bunch of other stories and maybe a completely different perspective. So
yeah, I will. I mean, I'll look forward to it. I mean, if you're around in the industry in a couple of years, you're going to have a story to tell, there's just no getting around that.
Yeah. So. I've only been in for a few years, like by myself. So I can only imagine where I'll be in a few more years.
Yeah. So I'll look forward to having you back on here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Jordan.
All right. Thank you. All right. Incredible episode, interview with Lauren. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was really great. Man, I say this every episode pretty much, but pick one thing to put it into action. Maybe go share it on the forums after you fill out your account details. And maybe go comment on somebody else's forum post while you're over there. But my kind of big takeaway for today's interview with Lauren actually was one of the, it kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying in the intro there, but one of the quotes that I wrote down from her is relationship building is a big part of this industry. And at first, if she had said that to me when I first got into this business, I would not have given her much credit for that. However, I have seen just through, starting this podcast and meeting a lot of you guys and a lot of people along the way, just how powerful that is. And so I am a full-fledged believer that the lone wolf route is not the way to go. The much better way to go is to build the right relationships with people who can help you achieve your goals and who you also can help achieve their goals. It goes kind of all full circle that way. So for me, continuing to build relationships with you guys and with our industry, and some very, very exciting announcements coming up regarding that for you guys coming up here within the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited to tell you about that. And as always, action is what leads you to success. So go out there this week, take some action, and we'll see you in next week's episode. That's going to be basically a little party. So look forward to that, and we'll see you then. Peace.